All right. I'm going to turn the camera off now because I want you to just have oops, let me see. There you go. Just have the big chart in front of you. All right. Welcome to Let the Magic Begin. I'm your host, Nicole, and I'm the voice of Mindful Connections. And I'm really, really excited to connect with you through this beautiful webinar. I have learned that a little mindfulness can not only make our lives more magical, but especially our relationship with our horses. And in this webinar, I will share with you everything I know about the magic a little mindfulness can ignite. To give you a quick sense of what I do, in case you haven't met me before, I have been writing about mindful connections for over 15 years. I started to write a column for a pet paper, and then I had some great opportunity to write articles from the horse's point of view for a variety of horse and pet magazines, and actually also a few blogs. And then earlier this year, which was really exciting, my book Pet Logic was published. And in it, I share many tales of often actually unexpected magical moments. In addition, I teach what the horses have taught me about mindfulness in workshops and one-on-one sessions. And I also created some online courses, and I'm starting a webinar series next month. So that's kind of where I come from. And now let's talk about the magic. If you, like me, believe there's magic between us and the horses, then you're in the right place for sure. Because if you're anything like me, you also know that finding that magic is sometimes more of a wish than a daily occurrence. But that's going to change today, because today I will show you that this magical space you and I believe in not only exists, but in a few minutes, I'll give you some ideas on how you can create that magic with your horse every day. So before I reveal these ideas, I want to share with you how I recaptured my special connection with horses. Because though I had that special bond with them when I was young, as an adult, I kind of lost it a little bit for a while. And funny enough, recapturing the magic, at least initially, had nothing to do with horses. Let me explain that. So 20 years ago, I came to the US from Germany to do an internship in an advertising agency. And back then, I didn't really speak English. I just knew about as many words as your average horse would know. And there I sat at 52nd Street and Broadway in this beautiful marble-clad conference room, frantically leafing through my Ponce dictionary looking for words, desperately trying to keep up with the conversation about Crest toothpaste and cavity prevention. And let me tell you, I had very little success because people talked so fast, and there were so many words I didn't understand or even knew how to spell, like efficacy and tartar control. And though I had made this choice and put myself into this situation, I felt pretty lost and lonely during that time. I actually vividly remember one day the conference room door flew open and a secretary came in yelling out to the executives, "OJ is heading down the highway with a white Bronco." And I sat there totally confused and wondering, why was orange juice riding down the highway on a white Bronco? Didn't make sense to me. And though I didn't understand what was going on with this OJ, I did know by looking at my colleagues and reading their energies that the event had to be disturbing news because they were all really concerned. Turns out those first lonely months in New York City gave me more than I had actually initially bargained for, because not only did I eventually learn to speak English, which is pretty obvious right now, but those trying times also taught me another language, one that was nonverbal. I actually learned to decipher information by reading body language, vocal tones, gestures, and people's energies, right down to the most minute detail. It was important for me. That was my survival. So these skills came in handy when I actually, a few years later, changed my career from advertising executive to therapeutic writing instructor. I could actually truly relate, especially to nonverbal students, and I also started to see the world of the horse in a new light. And because I knew how lonely it felt when no one understands you and you don't understand anybody, I actually spent the last 20 years figuring out how to connect in meaningful, magical ways, no matter if you have words or are wordless. And I discovered it always comes down to our and our horses' innate need to be seen and heard. Let me give you a few ideas what it looks like to be seen and heard. So imagine how amazing it feels when your horse waits for you at the gate when you arrive at the barn. And what a thrill it is when your mare stands at liberty while your farrier trims her hoofs. How connected you feel when your horse drops his head into the halter or bridle just because you asked. And to top it all off, what would it be like when you come home after work and your horse comes running out of the pasture to tell you he has lost his fly mask? I can tell you firsthand, in those moments, you and your horse feel seen and heard because you're mindfully connected. And that feels magical. But truth be told, for a while, my world and that of many of my clients looked quite differently. Think about it. Here we are in love with horses, and we finally sign up for lessons or even take a leap and buy or adopt a horse. And then, once we're in it, things don't go quite as we had imagined, right? Turns out the horse that was advertised as bomb-proof has a ton of baggage, and we feel totally inadequate in dealing with it. We most likely hire an instructor who tells us one way, and maybe later we get a trainer who has a totally different perspective, and now we're even more confused. So we go ahead and watch some DVDs or YouTube videos to become a better leader. And still, when we put the hay out in the paddock, one horse grabs a bite from our hands, while another comes up behind us with ears flattened. And suddenly, the magic we were seeking is nowhere to be found. I know this only too well because I was one of those seekers. No matter how much I studied to find a way to feel the magic again, like I remembered I had that as a child, I couldn't get there. I really tried to become a better horsewoman. I accumulated tons of knowledge because I reasoned the more I knew about horses and training methods, the more likely it would be for me and the horse to connect, just like I remembered from my childhood, right? Carefree rides around the German countryside, we were racing across the fields, and I remember so many picnics by the brook. But this never happened when I was an adult. And then one summer, my late horse Okie driving down a lonely country road. I had bought Okie as a 6-year-old, and he was an appendix quarter horse who had really become my main squeeze. And though we had some amazing times together, I always felt a gap. I searched for the thing that would bring Okie closer to me. Unfortunately, that day never came because Okie actually passed away unexpectedly during surgery. But anyway, so as I was driving down this country road, reminiscing about Okie and wondering what I could have done better to connect us more deeply, his image popped into my head. And with his sudden presence came the following words. Don't ask what you can do for me to come to you. Ask what you can do to come to me. So I immediately pulled the truck over and wrote those words down. I knew right away they were important, but honestly, I wasn't quite sure yet what they actually meant. And then over the next few days, I looked at Okie's words again and again. Ask what you can do to come to me. And then it started to dawn on me. I had been trying to get the horse to come to me, and usually I tried that by being a better leader. But Okie had told me just there that he couldn't come to me, that I had to come to the horse. And when I considered his suggestion, I ultimately figured it out. There was only one place I could find the horse, and that was in the now. I realized when I was with my horses, I needed to stop being distracted, thinking about my day, my worries or wishes. I needed to become present so my horse and I could truly connect. And so as I spent more and more time contemplating this idea, I realized that all the magical connections I had made while studying at the Kentucky Horse Park or working at thoroughbred auctions and at therapeutic riding centers, and even later during my coaching sessions with clients, all those magical connections had one thing in common. In those moments, I was present with the horse, if only for a short time. And at the same time, I started to realize that the horses, myself and even my clients, felt most seen and heard when we accepted and embraced reality, when we asked and surprisingly often received what we had been looking for, when we saw the world through someone else's eyes, when we were present enough to know when to be the student and when to be the teacher. And then I realized that actually keeping my promises created a deep trust between me and my horses. So after the discovery of these 5 mindful principles, a very special horse came into my life. Jesse. He was a 32-year-old Percheron gelding, and he was in dire straits. Let me tell you, his body was breaking down, and he was mentally and actually spiritually, I guess the best word to describe it is despondent. I knew if I wanted this guy to pull through, I needed to pay close attention to his needs by being super present. So how this amazing horse actually taught me to help him live for another 3 happy years is a story for another day. But because of Jesse, I realized that there was an easy way to communicate with Jesse if I used these 5 simple steps: to be in the now, to gather information, to hypothesize and conclude, to take action, and to reevaluate and possibly improve if something needed to be improved. And with those 5 simple steps, I knew how to help him. And with that, the Mindful Connection Wheel was actually born. And with that, I had actually recaptured the magic. Since those days when the horses helped me discover the parts of the Mindful Connections Wheel, I have applied this mindful approach with countless horses across the U.S. And it's amazing. No matter where I go or whom I work with, the moment I meet the horse in the now and apply the Mindful Connections principles, we are magically connected, and we stay connected. And the same happens to all the horse lovers I teach this approach to. So that's why I invited you for this webinar, because I want you to get mindfully connected as well, and I think it's about time that we get started with this. So here we go. As you will remember, the only way to truly connect with your horse is by meeting him in the now. And the easiest way to get yourself into the now, the present moment, is, surprise, surprise, by taking a conscious, deep abdominal breath. Let me demonstrate it. You inhale through the nose, deep into your belly, and exhale through the mouth. And just by me talking about it, you might actually have already taken a deep breath. And that's normal and happens all the time. And that's actually wonderful because our bodies crave these deep belly breaths. Think about it. As we go through our busy day, we breathe unconsciously. And our unconscious breath is usually pretty shallow. The normal day-to-day breath barely makes it beyond our solar plexus. And so this shallow breath is actually called a stress breath. And approaching our horse with this stress-filled vibrational energy doesn't allow for mindful connection. When you, however, take a conscious, deep abdominal breath, the kind our body craves, you automatically relax because you drop some of your tension. Your cortisol levels are reduced, and a few of those abdominal breaths actually change your brainwave activity. So you go from the more stressful beta wave length to a more relaxed and healthier alpha wave. And that your horse loves. Because when you're in that state, you're available to connect. The funny thing is, when we were young, and I remember this, we did all these things naturally. I never even thought about any of these things. But then, life happens and we get busier and busier. And so nowadays, we need a little help to remind us of what is actually quite natural for us. So therefore, let's practice this deep abdominal breath together. Inhale through the nose, Push the air deep into your abdomen and exhale through the mouth. And allow the breath to clear your mind. Okay, let's do it one more time. Inhale through the nose. You might even want to put a hand on your belly button to feel you pushing the air deep into your abdomen so that it actually extends itself. And then exhale through the mouth and clear your mind. So, since you've got this deep belly breath down, I believe, I will now show you how you can start incorporating that belly breath into your daily routine with your horse. And while we're at it, let's apply one of the mindful principles so you can start building a mindful connection, right? Okay. This is my friend Nancy who helped me create this little slideshow here by being my model. All right, so next time you head to the barn or paddock, no matter how rushed you are, take a deep belly breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through your mouth. And in your mind, tune into your horse. With your breath, tell him you're heading his way. Now I'm going to use him right now because, it's crazy to keep saying him, her, him. Of course, we know we all have geldings and mares and possibly some stallions here, but I'm going to just stick with him for now. So next, when you get to the stall or gate, stop and take another breath and say to your horse, hey, Jimmy, let's get ready to hang out, or let's get ready to ride. And with this little pause, you actually give your horse a chance to wake up or stop eating. And then, as you enter the stall and step next to your horse, instead of forcing the halter over his ears, take another breath. And then ask your horse for participation. Ask him to please put his nose into the halter. And then stay open and curious while you ask. Many horses are never actually given a chance to respond to that verbal request, and your horse might initially be surprised to be asked, but after a few more offers, he actually will cooperate. We saw this here with Max, because when Nancy first asked him, Max kind of leaned down into the halter, and then he raised his head up and was like, no thanks, I'm all set. And then Nancy took another breath, and Max got connected again, checked out the halter, and chose again not to put his nose in. And then, by the third breath, Nancy said again, please put your nose in the halter. Max dove literally in. It was so beautiful to watch. So once you got the nose in the halter and the halter all connected, take another abdominal breath before inviting your horse to come out with you. Because as you can see here, Max actually has his head already raised a little bit, almost in anticipation that now something is going to happen. And when Nancy took another breath and actually intuitively put her hand on his neck, look in the last picture how calm, cool, and collected he is. And as you can see, this little effort that Nancy put in, it took her a few minutes, not even a few minutes, it took her actually maybe a minute, the whole sequence. Max was so tuned into her because she was tuned into him. And that's a beautiful start to mindfully connect. So you can see when you meet the horse in the now through a conscious breath and apply mindful connection principle number 2, by asking your horse to partner with you, you have this great start to a magical connection. And I tell you one thing, your horse will be so surprised to find you in the now, right there next to him. And he'll be so glad because, truth be told, he has been waiting for you right there for a long time. Because horses live in the now and they wait for us to show up. Because you know why? They really, truly, truly, truly want to connect with us. They want to share actually about themselves. And I will tell you in a minute a little story how much they can share with us. They want to communicate with us. They want to make us aware. And they actually want to expand our consciousness. But they can only do that if we remember to meet them where they are, and that's in the now. So this little sequence I just showed you with Nancy and Max is actually this beautiful start that I know will start changing your life and that of your horse. It seems so simple, but it will make such a huge difference. Actually, I just got an email a few days ago from a woman. She had attended one of my workshops, and a few days after the workshop, she was asked to help one of her students to catch a horse, a little Shetland pony that had been, I think, saved from an auction. And simply by breathing consciously and asking the horse to participate, it totally changed the pony's experience with humans. And it changed in such a way that now he's not only easy to catch, but he has no problem getting groomed and actually having his sheath cleaned, which was like an absolute no-no at the beginning. So this horse's life was transformed. And actually so was that of the owner and my client and the barn manager, because they all couldn't believe how spending 30 minutes of mindfully connecting with this little pony created such a shift. So talk about magic, right? So this all works and comes together like this when you take a conscious breath and start applying those mindful connections principles, because you actually create a new channel of communication. And when you offer that channel of communication to your horse, he can and wants to share of himself. Your horse will actually reveal probably more of his personality than you knew he had. And you will actually see quite a bit of the wisdom that horses have come out. And before you know it, you have actually some magical communication going on because of this breath and simple connection through the principles. Like I said, so our horses are waiting for us to show up. And I want to give you another example from my own backyard where I really learned how this communication is possible. So my Arabian mare, Shana, and I have become by now great communicators. And I think she would be the first to tell you that she will take the credit for it, and actually rightly so, because she is actually, like most horses, a prolific and persistent communicator. And she constantly reminds me to be utterly present so she can tell me what she needs. A few summers ago, Shana saw me at the gate by the barn, and she came running in from the pasture, neighing like crazy. And when she reached me, she nickered a few times. She has this little like noise. And then when she had my attention, she moved around so that eventually her cute butt was right in my face. And then she started to sway her hips ever so slightly left and right. And I realized she was asking me to scratch her tail. And when I did, I was kind of like massaging the dock of her tail there. She got quiet, so I kind of knew that I had understood her. And then as I moved my fingers through her tail hair there, I came across a tick. So after I removed the tick, Shana continued to nicker. She kept going like, And I told her that I had removed the tick and she should be actually good to go now. But she persisted. And when I didn't respond right away, she started to actually make another funny grunting noise. Again, she tried to get my attention. So, of course, I went back to the tail, and lo and behold, eventually I found another tick. This one, though, was at the very bottom of her tail. It had just started to inch its way up. She must have picked it up like literally a few seconds before. I actually could hardly believe that she had felt this tiny little bugger all the way down there, but she did. And I knew that was the bugger she was referring to when she asked me to pay attention again, because the moment I took that tick off her tail hair, she trotted off back into the pasture. And I tell you, I was blown away that she and I had communicated in this way. And I realized that I had seen and heard her, and she was so satisfied with that. And I had felt the magic possible when she and I were this mindfully connected. And I can tell you, those are the moments that totally make me crave for more. And the good news is, there is more. There's always more. There's actually an unlimited amount of this type of connection when we're present. Magic can have so many facets. And the more time I spend in the now, the more I notice my relationship with my horses evolving. So if stories like this inspire you and you're curious about some of the things I've experienced, you might want to pick up my book, Pet Logic. It's full of those types of tales, and I think you will really get a kick out of it. You might recognize yourself actually in some of them. All right, so back to meeting your horse in the now and applying the 5 principles. That will shift your relationship with your horse to a deeper connection in an instant. And I really hope that you will try what I shared today next time you go and see your horse. Right? Remember, get present by taking a deep, conscious abdominal breath. Inhale through the nose, deep into your belly, and exhale through the mouth. And then approach your horse and apply mindful connection principle number 2 and ask your horse to please put the nose on the halter. And then be open and curious. Maybe you need to take another breath and ask again. And maybe your horse just gives you a little inkling toward the halter, and that will be great for the beginning. Then go with that. Bring the halter up over the nose and clip it on. And then, before you head out, take another breath and start your journey into a magical mindful connection. It really works. It's so fun. And I can only imagine, if you're anything like any of the other people I work with, once you feel the first taste of this, you will want more. And I also know from my own experience and from what people share me that this little exercise I gave you here is so easy and so simple, but sometimes it's hard to break our habits. The habit of rushing to the barn, grabbing our horse, and falling back into our old routines, because that's just what we know, and we're creatures of habit. So I really hope that this webinar will give you a sense that this is a fun thing to do, to try out, and maybe by starting tonight or tomorrow, you will create a little habit, a little practice to start connecting with your horse in this way. And if you want to grab a little bit more of this and dive a little bit deeper into this, I actually created a couple of fun packages to help you practice being in the now and communicating in mindful ways. Like I said, I have a book and some courses, and if you want to dip your toe in the water here, I suggest that you get the online course I created. It's called Meet Your Horse in the Now, of course it is, and the book Pet Logic, because in the course I put together the key ingredients to make a mindful connection, and the stories and anecdotes in Pet Logic will keep you inspired. I'm sure they will. And if you're actually more of a hardcore mindful person that really loves to create a more mindful lifestyle, I created another package for you, and that contains the Mindful Connections 10 Practice online course. And I called this course Take Your Life from Mindful to Mindful, because that's really what we need to do to be more present in our life. And I know this course has changed so many people's lives because it teaches you how to be more present, to be more aware, and actually more in charge of your life. What I mean by that is you learn how to run your life rather than letting your life run you, if you know what I mean. So, and in addition, I added to this the Meet Your Horse in the Now course to help you create the magical connection with your horse. And I added Pet Logic to keep you inspired along the way. And then if you really like some personal attention, then I have a third package that actually includes the same courses, Take Your Life from Mindful to Mindful, and Meet Your Horse in the Now, the book, and then a one-on-one coaching session with me, where we will spend 50 minutes on the phone so I can help you directly and personally apply the wheel and its principles to your life. And we put all these packages on a special page on my website, and the link is right here, mindful-connections.com/GoMagic. And for the next 24 hours, because I'm so grateful that you came to me to join me for this webinar, I'll give you a 25% discount on all these products if you purchase a package. And I will actually send you an inbox. I will send you an email actually so you can check your inbox later. So you have that link, so you don't even need to write anything down right now. Of course, you can also buy each of these products by themselves, but then you don't have the discount. So I wanted to create something special for you for coming tonight. And actually, because I know we have quite a few of equine professionals here on the course that work with therapy horses, I, of course, have a special connection to therapy horses. And if you would like to meet your therapy horse in the now, there's a course for that. And if you want to order that, when you order whichever package, let me know. Just put the word therapy in the PayPal comment box, and then I know to send you that one. So, and then of course I also want to mention, if you want some hands-on help, you can reach out to me by email, Nicole@mindfulconnections.com. So we can schedule a visit at your barn or at your therapy program, and I will facilitate a 1-day or a 2-day workshop, and those days are so fun. And like I told you just now, people really walk away with so much knowledge that they put right away to use, and they share with me how much this has changed their life and their horse's life. Because in those workshops, we actually spend hours playing and creating magical, mindful connections with our horses. So, and just because I'm so excited about sharing everything I know, I'm also going to start a webinar series in July, and I'm offering these webinars to you. So I will let you know in an email when and what we're going to do. But there will be topics like seeing the world through your horse's eyes, and how to solve problems effectively and mindfully, and how to bring your communication with your horse to a new level by actually engaging your body, your mind, and your intuition. So, did you just hear Shana in the background? She's confirming. This is good stuff. So I will send you an email about this webinar series as soon as we're ready for you to register. So again, I'm so grateful you joined me for this free webinar, and I know your horses will be happy too. And I hope you will actually let me know that you tried it and what you discovered when you tried this with your horse. And just here again is the email, and just as a little logistical thing, when you complete this PayPal transaction, when you purchase something, take a deep breath, practice, and wait for the server to actually direct you to our registration page. There's always a slight delay, but it's a great opportunity to practice your deep belly breath. So, and since we have a few minutes left here, I was hoping, to get this done in like 30, 40 minutes, and I think we're pretty much on time. I see that actually some people have already a couple of questions, so if you have questions or comments or thoughts, feel free to pop those questions or comments into that little chat bubble that's to the right of the little grouping of people. So I'm going to actually see, because there are already some questions, what is going on. Let me see. So let's see. There's actually a question from Brenda. And she's asking, do you have any other activities or exercises beyond the breath? Yes, actually, I do, because during the workshop, we'll do a lot of activities, hands-on activities, where we actually interact with the horses, where we connect through by asking the horse for what it needs, and then realize what our horses can offer us. They offer us their opinion, basically. So the way this works is we will start a little activity, and then we pause, and then we see how the horse responds in that space that we give them. Because a lot of times when we interact with our horses, we do a lot what I call monologuing. And the monologuing means that we just do everything to the horses, and the horse doesn't really have the space to give us anything back or do anything back to us. And that's a real fun activity we're going to practice in workshops. And there are actually 4 other activities that I teach right away in the first workshop. So yes, there's lots more to come beyond the breath. And then actually there's another question. How much time do I spend on when I take these online courses? So the longer one is actually the Take Your Life from Mindful to Mindful. That course actually has 6 practices, and you get a practice every week, so you have some time to incorporate those practices. And it will take you probably 10 to 15 minutes each week to actually connect, read through it. I have some videos and some articles that I added, and when you take all that into account, it's probably 10-15 minutes. And then you have a whole week to incorporate everything that you have learned. And then the next email comes with the next practice. The Meet the Horse and the Now I created a little differently because I figured it would be kind of fun to have 3 practices, 3 tips right away that you can read through. There are also a couple of videos in those practices, and you can put them right to use. So I think probably reading those will take you maybe 10 minutes. And then, of course, you go out and practice with your horse, which will be fun. So there we have those questions. Is there anybody else? If you have any thoughts, any comments, just again, push that little bubble and type in, and then we'll talk. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's one more person. All right, Trent. So he's asking what's the difference between mindful connections and training? And that's a really good question, because mindfully connecting with the horse doesn't mean you shouldn't train your horse, but mindfully connecting with the horse is actually the foundation where you build a relationship that then helps you with your training, because you understand your horse better. Your horse has actually permission in the mindful connection to express his or her needs. And so when you actually then move into training or riding lessons, you know your horse better, and you will know when something might seem right because the instructor says something, but your horse is not responding and is not really congruent in its behavior to what the instructor says. It actually allows you to, have conversations about maybe to get more clear about what your horse needs and how to go about the training. Because when you really think about it, I did it for a long time before I realized all this. I kind of applied the same techniques that I had learned from different trainers and instructors to all horses, pretty much the same. And that kind of didn't work so well when I got Shana, because Shana, she was 1 year old when I got her. She was pretty much unblemished and had her own opinions. And for me to just put this cookie cutter approach on her did not go over well. So she was just like, that's crazy. Sometimes I would, ask her again and again and again to do some free lunging in the arena and sidestepping and walk, trot, canter. And she eventually would just stop, look at me and be like, really? Are we done now? Because I already know all this. And practicing the same things. I needed to in her mind and in her body. So the neat thing was, through this mindful connection, I understood that. And so I adapted my way about training according to what she needed and what I could offer. So it's really just a great, great foundation for you to experience this, that then will lead you to recognize all the opportunities that training and instruction have to offer. So I think that's it in terms of questions. I am just so grateful and so thankful that you came. I know that your horse is nodding his head too, or her head, because I'm pretty sure that the next time you will go to the barn, you will take a deep breath In through the nose, out through the mouth, and start your mindful connection with your beautiful furry companion. All right. Thank you so much. Be in touch if you like. I always love to hear the stories. And I hope I will connect with you one of these days in person. All right. Goodbye.